Well, hello friends. Johan here with another edition of Unscripted. It is once again Saturday. It is 5 o'clock somewhere, and it's definitely beer o'clock here in Johanland. Today I am continuing a quest I started a couple weeks ago to try my hands on pretty much every quadruple style beer in the world. As you can see behind me here, I've made a run to my local piece of beer heaven to get some new samples to try over the weekend. And in doing so, I ran across a little something that I thought warranted another episode of Unscripted. Basically, I was talking to the proprietor of our local YNWA beer shop here in Kolding, Denmark. Check them out if you do get the chance, if you live around here or happen to visit for some odd reason. Wonderful place, lots of beers, great people, a lot of fun. Anyway, so I was talking to the proprietor. I told him about this little project I'm on, and he basically, well, he shook his head at me for a while, and then he said, "You know what? I think I have just a thing for you." And he dragged me aside, and he showed me this little thing. There we go. This is brew number 500 by Det Lille Bryghus. And for those of you who haven't brushed up on your Danish lately, that means basically the small brewery. Their brew number 500 being an anniversary brew of sorts. It is something as rare as a Danish quadruple style beer. I haven't really come across many of these. Normally, you don't see these types of beers outside of Holland and Belgium usually. But apparently, there are some prime specimens from across the continent. One of them apparently being from Denmark. So that alone I thought was reason enough to try it on air, live and unscripted. Another reason is that, well, if you know me, you'll know that Danes don't fucking do anything half-assedly. If we do something, we do it over the top. So this particular beer here is, well, it's brewed using four types of malt, three types of hops, as it says here, two types of Belgian sugars. I didn't know there were actually several types of Belgian sugars, but there you go. And one strain of yeast. That in itself is not particularly new. What is new is the ABV on this beer. This beer is 15.9% alcohol by volume. Uh, which is a lot for beer. Really quickly going over the quadruple style beer that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. They are usually beers brewed using a lot of malt, using a lot of sugar, and they usually reach a fair amount of alcohol by volume, usually around 10 to 12%, but usually almost 16%. The thing about beer brewing is that beer is obviously brewed with basically malt, water, hops, and yeast. Um, the malt content is what actually helps create the alcohol. The yeast will eat the malt, and then as a byproduct of that, will produce alcohol. So the more malt you add to a beer, the more alcohol you will potentially get out of the beer. Um, if malt alone is not enough for you, you usually start adding sugar to get like more fermentation, getting the yeast going even more and producing even more alcohol. And by the time you go into like the 12, 14 or so percentile of alcohol, and you usually, well, you reach what would be considered the kill zone for yeast. Basically, they will not thrive in an environment that alcoholic. Basically, I guess you could say they eat themselves to death or drink themselves to death. Happy death, I'm sure, but a death nonetheless. Um, and so for yeast to actually survive as long as to produce a 15.9% alcohol beer is a little unusual. It's very unusual, actually. There are methods for producing even stronger beers, but that would usually involve using, well, non-beer strains of yeast, or you could use freeze distillation, regular distillation, things like that. Some people will call that cheating. This guy included, but some people do that. This is like a naturally reached almost 16% alcohol by volume beer. Should be interesting. So let's pop it open. and see what these guys can do. I've not actually, I've been doing some research online. I haven't been able to find a whole lot about the brewery. I found out a small brewery from rural Denmark, and that really is about it. I've never heard of them before, and depending on how this turns out, I might never hear of them again. Almost no carbonation in this beer at all. It is about as stale as they come. It's a darkish red kind of thing. No bubbles, no head. Interesting. Um, Sniffy sniff. Yeah, you get sort of a whiff of alcohol in the nose here. I'd be surprised if you didn't. Not uncomfortable as always. This actually there's I'm not so much getting malt here as I'm getting sweetness and fruit. Usually, quadruple beers are rather malty. There's not a whole lot of that going on here. This is more like this smells more like a fortified wine sort of thing. And I guess with the with the rather aggressive ABV, that would make sense. But let's have a taste. Wow. That is one insane beer. There's alcohol in here, definitely. You do it is you get with some quadruples, you get like the they have a really great ability to hide the ABV in there. Of course, they're usually 10, 12% ABV. This being 16, it doesn't hide as well. So it's not a burn, but there's a strong alcohol presence in here. It's noticeable. More so in many types of fortified wine, actually. Not uncomfortable. It's warming. It's soothing. But it's there. I mean, and it jumps at you. If you're not a fan of like alcoholic beers, this wouldn't be for you. Um, that aside, though, on top of the alcohol, you get like massive fruit. There's like raisiny plum kind of things going on here. Um, you get a lot of malt in the taste as well. You don't get the aromas of the malt from sniffing the beer, but you get it in the taste. It's massive, and it is even for a quad. It's actually not. It's not easily drinkable. It's not something that would like drag you away and fuck you over like some of these other guys would. It's not something you just swallow down and then suddenly have drunk a whole lot. This feels more like this feels more like drinking a really well crafted, slightly oddly malty, fortified dessert wine of sorts. Somewhere it's a cross somewhere between a Madeira and a port with some off malt and yeast flavors thrown in. It's I honestly I like this a lot. I was skeptical opening this, knowing nothing about the brewery, knowing nothing about their reputation or anything. But this is I might have to check these guys out, find out what they're doing. This is this is surprising in that something that strong can be this delicious. Good times. Well done, small brewery of Denmark, whoever you are. Um, Rating this thing on the Grand Johan scale of things, I would say, yeah, it's up there. I'm going to go high on this one. This is going to be, I think this is a 9 out of 10 kind of beer. Beautiful product. Not a whole lot of story to tell you, but whoever did this, I'm going to seek out more of your things because this is probably interesting. Uh, wow. I don't know what to say. I'm kind of blown away by this thing. Once again, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you like. Throw us a like if you like. Check out my other beer reviews. Check out my other things. I got more things coming for you. I don't want this channel to be all about beer. It's been a fun run. I'm talking about doing some stuff with other people. There might be some wines come up in the future. I'm chatting with this guy about doing a project with him. Might be in Danish, so some of you won't be able to follow along, but those of you who can, I'd love for you to see that. Stay tuned for more information on this venture. Also, check out my blog, Johansen.dk. There's an article that's just gone off this weekend about our local Danish whiskey bottle produced here in Kolding, Denmark. I teased in my last video about some barbecue stuff coming up. That the first part of that should be up next week. Keep your eyes peeled, and once again, thank you for watching, and take care, guys.